Hey, if you're looking to change your sexual performance and your erections by changing your diet, then stay tuned because what I'm going to do today is show you what I did to go from eating 200 animals a month to basically none at all. And hey, this is Brian, aka Uncle B, and for the last 20 years I've been the men's performance coach with African Fly, the liquid aphrodisiac. And as a coach, of course, I got to share my own experiences with making this change. It took a while, and I want to give you the tips so you can go through this process a lot more smoothly. Specifically, what I'm going to talk about is what a plant-based diet is and what it takes to make these changes. Plus, I'm going to tell you what to avoid in terms of mistakes and what triggers are out there that may cause you issues. And of course, if you like what you hear, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so we can get some more of this information to you. And what I'm going to do is break this down till it cannot be broken anymore. All right, let's jump into why this is so important. And let's be honest about it. Basically, it's because this shit ain't working. We're talking about so many guys are going through issues. I talk to them constantly. I am seeing young boys needing to go to the doctors to get an exam to make sure that their parts are functioning correctly. I'm talking to 16, 17, or 18-year-old young men who are having erection issues. I've talked to 30-year-olds who are now infertile. And overall, we're talking about guys who are having issues with hypertension, erectile dysfunction, colon cancer, rest in power to Chadwick Boseman, and all types of issues. And of course, the most alarming thing is that they keep saying that this generation that's coming up now, they're not going to live as long as we are. But for some reason, we're not hearing the alarm bells about it. So really, it's just pretty simple. 70% of you is what you eat. And where do you think the disease is coming from? It's coming from the food. You eat every day. And for the vast majority of people right now, they're eating way too much meat. Meat at every meal. We have to get real about this right now because the situation is getting worse. You do remember how that food is changing, right? Do you remember when watermelon had seeds, grapes had seeds, when McDonald's actually closed for part of the day and wasn't open 24/7? Yeah, things have changed. So really quickly, I'm just going to run through what a whole plant-based diet is for my guys who don't know. And really, that's just what it is. It's whole plants that you're eating. We're talking about the vegetables, the fruits, the beans, and the nuts. Things like that where you're getting as close to the source as possible. It's better if it's not cooked, but for some foods, obviously, you do have to cook them. So, of course, we mean no meat and no processed foods, which is different from vegans because vegans, though not eating meat, they're eating typically highly processed plant-based foods, which are better than eating meat, but still has some issues. And of course, vegetarians, they don't eat meat, but they do include dairy. We're talking about eggs and milk, which is still not good for you. So let's go ahead and break down the meat myths real quick. First of all protein comes from plants. Animal protein is just a horrible substitute. Plants have all the amino acids that you need. B12 covers the entire earth. You don't have to get it from animals. You can actually get it just by taking a supplement. Every nutrient that you actually need is in plants. And last but not least, obviously, you are not a carnivore or omnivore. I don't care what Wikipedia says. I don't care what the doctors say. You can't eat an animal. Saying otherwise is really just stupid. All right, let's get into my journey right quick. So basically in January of 2018, I finally said I had enough. Basically, I was waking up in constant ache. I was living in constant ache. We're talking about shoulder issues, knee issues, feet issues. Waking up was just a chore because I didn't know what was going to be hurting on me. And one of the most important things, of course, is that on that sexual performance scale, with 10 being the best, 1 being the least, I was sitting there at 5. That's a horrible position to be in. So a week of what I would eat, well, basically we have wings on Monday. Then we get Taco Tuesdays. Then happy hour wings on Wednesdays. Thursdays, Supreme Pizza. Fridays, fried fish. And of course, Saturdays, crab cake Saturdays. And we got game wing Sundays. Yeah, that's just dinner. I was eating meat at the other meals also. So I got my start with switching over by doing intermittent fasting, where basically I wasn't eating breakfast, which really cut out a lot of the meat, well, a third of the meat in my diet. Now, Going through this process, it is a slow walk. I always tell people to walk away from crazy. If you run from crazy, crazy is going to chase you. So your habits are already set in place. It's hard to just automatically say, I'm going to switch over without running into issues. Of course, the thing to do is add more fruit. You still want to get that volume of food into you, but you need to get rid of the meat. So if you're adding the food in, getting rid of the meat, that's the first step in that process. And of course, I tried a whole bunch of different vegan foods. The thing to remember is that, once again, these foods have been on the planet for less time than you have been. So you do need to test it out. See what works for you. Some vegan foods I eat give me stomach issues. Those are off the list. And what I did also was I kept notes on my phone just so I could remember the pain and I can remember the benefits. So going back and realizing that, oh yeah, I eat salmon, it's going to be painful. It reminds me not to do that anymore. Of course, I had to look for restaurants with options. Basically, in the area that I'm in, right outside of Washington, D.C., there are roughly like 5 vegan restaurants out of hundreds. So out of those other hundreds of restaurants, going through, just checking to see what is available. A lot of them now have the Impossible Burger. They're coming up with vegan options, which is a great thing. And of course, the main thing is I just paid attention to other people, my age and older, just noticing that they're walking around with limps and they have this issue. They're taking like this many pills. I didn't want any of that situation. So it was just a reminder, pay attention to what I ate. All right, let's go through the mistakes that I was making really quick. And one of the first ones that a lot of people make is equating not eating meat with losing weight. We're still talking about a volume issue here. So if you're eating a high volume of food, of course, it's harder to lose weight. Just cutting out meat doesn't automatically mean you're going to lose weight. And that's not the measure you should be looking at. You should be looking at, are you getting healthier? Juicing fruits. We're talking about juicing where you're taking the fiber out of the fruit and you're just left with the fruit juice, which is very sweet, it tastes great, but unfortunately you're getting a lot of sugar in, so that doesn't help if you're trying to deal with weight issues. And of course, your body optimally runs on fiber. I mentioned this before, not paying attention to the vegan food and how that affected me. Eating too many vegan desserts. They're good, but they're still desserts. Random meat feast. Just hanging out with, some foodie friends, and it was like, hey, let's go to this restaurant where they serve a whole bunch of meat. I'll join in, and then I'll be in pain the next day. That's what happens all the time. Not planning meals. You just get to that point where it's like, well, I'll just go with whatever's here because I didn't figure out some vegan options or some whole plant options. Hanging out with people who do not respect your journey. That's a big one. There are people who will say, oh man, we're going to go out, but can you go? Because, you eat that weird stuff and blah, blah, blah. If they're not respecting your journey, you may need to cut them out in terms of you getting healthier. Let's go ahead and hit those triggers, those things that if I'm around that situation happens, I just want to eat some meat. And when it comes down to it, my mother's cooking. Oh, she made some food that, I had to slap somebody else's mama. I could have slapped my own mama because she slaps back. And of course, one of the big triggers is the holidays, like 4th of July, where you're talking about hot dogs, hamburgers, barbecue chicken, the ribs. And then you have other ones like Thanksgiving, where you got turkey and all the trimmings. Those are the triggers that you have to look out for and plan for. Going into a restaurant hungry, not a good plan. Hanging with people who make you lax in your ability to avoid eating meat. And these are people that you've hung out with your life. They may be your drinking buddies. You go in a happy hour. You're used to doing certain things that involve food with them, eating the wrong food. Pay attention to that. Of course, not having the right food available. You go into the refrigerator for a midnight snack and there's nothing there for you to eat that's healthy. And what's open? McDonald's. And of course, a big one for me is always just stress. I always used to say that I'm a stress eater. If I get stressed, then it's like, I'm looking for comfort food. So make sure you're trying to lower the stress in your life. And of course, the big one is always vacation. It's my vacation. It's time for me to celebrate, whether it's your birthday, something like that. People look for reasons to go back to eating bad things when it comes to celebrating or going on vacations. Make sure you pay attention. You're planning to avoid that. So let me just hit the benefits up real quick because they're great. We're talking about the first one. My neck doesn't crack anymore. Also, I don't have any more issues with my knees and my feet. My thumb used to crack. All types of issues like that have gone away. Also, my dandruff don't have dandruff anymore. One of the benefits is I no longer wake up in the middle of the night needing to go run to the bathroom and nothing is coming out, because that's really BPH, which is an early precursor for enlarged prostate. You want to make sure you're avoiding meat if that's a situation for you, because it's going to get worse. Of course, I actually sleep better now. I have clearer thinking, less bloating. There are a huge number of benefits to going meat-free. And one of the best benefits, especially for this discussion right now, I'm sitting there at an 8. I don't have to worry about doing anything extra. For a lot of guys, they're thinking, why can't I get my erections? Why am I sitting at a 5, 6, or 7? Well, it's because of the meat you're eating. Get off the meat, you're going back up to an 8 pretty quickly. And there's also future benefits. Like the first thing, I'm not worried about having a heart attack anytime soon. Can't say that for a lot of the guys that I know out there who are not doing any of these things. I can also work out harder and longer without worrying about injuries, because I'm not eating foods that are inflaming me. And remember, the world is actually going in this direction. McDonald's is planning on coming out with McPlant. They're coming out with plant-based burgers. McDonald's. So yeah, the world's going in this direction. Also, just like being an example to people in my family, actually to you guys, just to give you an idea of what it's like, what are the benefits of actually living this way, living meat-free. And of course, one of the biggest benefits to me is that I plan on living well into my 90s and having sex. For my fellas out there who are thinking like, I'm going to be like this, I don't want to have sex. Well, I'm just going to say, don't leave your girl around me, true player for real. Ask your mama for real. And of course, some of the other benefits are that you're saving the world. There's a lot of disastrous stuff that happens because of the way we factory farm. And one of the coolest things is that you get used to it. You won't even want to eat meat anymore. It won't become like an issue at all. Now, here's one of the most serious things that you have to do in order for all of this to work, and that is to train your mind. And this is because since birth, you've been told to eat meat. Mommy made it. It was available right there for school lunch. Every restaurant you've ever been in has meat all over the menu. You have different cooking traditions like the barbecue, things where you're just constantly told this is what you're supposed to do. I'm not even going to mention the thousands of commercials that you have seen telling you to go eat meat. So you have to retrain your brain. How do you do that? Well, one of the easiest ways is just to watch movies. We're talking about doing a Netflix and chill where you're watching movies that talk about the proper way to eat. We're talking about Game Changers, What the Health, Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, and The Milk System. And the reason why you want to look at these movies and watch them on repeat is because it'll take you a while, but something's going to catch. It's different for everybody in terms of what it is. Some people are like, oh, I saw the cows and the way they were treated, I didn't want to eat them anymore. As compared to, for me, it was being a 5 on that sexual performance scale, didn't want to be there. So find out what it is for you. So in conclusion, go plant-based, because what we're eating is getting worse and worse. All protein comes from plants, and animals are a horrible substitute. Walk away from crazy and remember the pain and the benefits of going plant-based. Learn from your mistakes quickly and make sure you're avoiding those triggers. And make sure you train your mind by repeatedly watching movies and getting more information. So question of the day, do you think you can live on a whole plant diet? Try it. It really does work. And as always, if you like what you heard, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so we can get some more of this information to you. And this is Uncle B saying, get your game up. Peace out.